My son told me, "Mom, I wish Dad didn't live with us." Hearing that hurt more than I can say, but it gave me the courage to leave that same night. I knew things were bad. I knew it for a long time. But when my 8-year-old son, Daniel, looked at me, voice small but certain, and said, "Mom, I wish Dad didn't live with us," it felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. I don't know how long I stood there, just staring at him. He wasn't crying. He wasn't angry. He just looked tired. Like a kid who had given up on the idea that things could ever get better. And that was the moment I realized the truth. I wasn't just failing myself by staying. I was failing him. That was the night I decided. We were leaving. Now. I met Mark when I was 22. He was charming, the kind of man who could talk his way into or out of anything. People liked him. I liked him. He made me feel special, like I was the only woman in the world. We got married fast. Too fast. Looking back, I can see the warning signs clear as day, but at the time, I ignored them. I thought I was just being paranoid. He was moody, unpredictable. If something went wrong, it was never his fault. It was the job, the bills, me. He never hit me, not then. But he would slam his fists on the table, throw things across the room, get right in my face, and scream so loud my ears would ring. Then, after he'd calm down, he'd apologize. He'd say he didn't mean it, that he was just stressed. He'd hold me and promise to be better. And I believed him. Over and over again. When Daniel was born, I thought maybe things would change. Maybe Mark would soften, become the man I wanted him to be. And for a little while, it seemed like he did. He held Daniel in his arms and cried. He told me he was going to be a good father, a better husband. But people don't change just because they say they will. The anger came back. Worse this time. And now, there was a child in the middle of it. Mark never hit Daniel, but the yelling, the slamming doors, the way he would grab my arm too hard, shake me when he was mad, Daniel saw it all. And then, one night, he looked up at me and said those words. "Mom, I wish Dad didn't live with us." And I knew. It was time. I had thought about leaving before. 100 times, probably more. And every time, I came up with a reason not to. We don't have enough money. Where would we go? What if he finds us? Maybe things will get better. But I had already been preparing, just in case. There was a bag in the back of my closet, buried under some old clothes. Inside was everything I thought we'd need, clothes for me and Daniel, copies of our birth certificates and social security cards, some cash I had been secretly setting aside for months, a cheap prepaid phone, just in case I had to ditch mine, a few of Daniel's favorite things, his stuffed tiger, his blanket, a book he loved. It wasn't much. But it was enough. Mark was out at the bar, like he was most nights. I didn't know when he'd be back. Sometimes he stumbled in around midnight, sometimes later. If he was in a bad mood, sometimes he wouldn't come home at all. I didn't care. I grabbed the bag. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely zip it shut. Then, I went to wake up Daniel. "Hey, sweetheart," I whispered, brushing his hair back. "We're going on an adventure." His eyes fluttered open, sleepy and confused. "Now?" I nodded. "Right now." He sat up and looked around, like he was making sure his dad wasn't there. When he realized it was just us, he climbed out of bed without another word. He didn't ask where we were going. He didn't cry. That was the moment I realized something awful. He had been waiting for this. He didn't hesitate. He didn't even look back at his room. He just put on his shoes, held my hand, and walked to the door. My stomach was in knots as I peeked out the window. No headlights in the driveway. No movement on the street. We slipped out the back door. I drove with both hands gripping the wheel so tight, my fingers ached. My heart was pounding so loud, I could hear it in my ears. Every pair of headlights behind me made my breath hitch. Every turn I took, I checked the mirrors. I didn't stop until we were 2 hours away. Daniel had fallen asleep in the back seat, his stuffed tiger clutched to his chest. I pulled into a gas station parking lot, hands still shaking, and just sat there. We were free. But we weren't safe yet. I had turned my phone off before we left, but when I powered it back on, there were 16 missed calls from Mark. And dozens of messages. At first, they were frantic. "Where are you? Why aren't you answering? What's going on?" Then, the anger. "You better not be doing what I think you're doing. If you leave me, I'll make sure you regret it. You can't take my son away from me." I turned my phone off again. Instead, I used the prepaid phone and called the one person I knew I could trust. Claire. My sister. She answered on the first ring. Where are you? I told her. She didn't hesitate. Drive straight here. I don't care how tired you are, I don't care how late it is. Just get here. We'll figure everything else out later. And that's exactly what I did. Claire lived 3 states away, in Denver. The drive took over 12 hours. It felt like a lifetime. I stopped only when I had to, bathroom breaks, gas, quick food runs. Every time I stepped out of the car, I felt exposed, like he could be watching me. Daniel barely spoke. He just sat in the back seat, hugging his tiger, staring out the window. I wanted to tell him everything was going to be okay, that we were safe, but I didn't know if that was true yet. By the time we got to Claire's, the sun was rising. She was waiting for us on the porch. The second I stepped out of the car, she ran to me and pulled me into a hug so tight I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. Daniel squeezed between us, and she knelt down, holding his face in her hands. You're safe now, she told him. I promise. He nodded. And for the first time in years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, she was right. For the first time in years, I slept without fear. I didn't wake up to the sound of doors slamming. I didn't flinch at the creak of footsteps in the hallway. Daniel slept too, deeply, peacefully. No nightmares. No tossing and turning. Just the quiet, steady breathing of a child who had finally let go of the tension he had been carrying for too long. But peace doesn't last when someone like Mark is involved. I woke up to Claire shaking my shoulder, her face pale. You need to see this, she said, her voice tight. I followed her into the kitchen, where her laptop was open on the counter. My heart stopped when I saw the screen. It was me. A picture of me and Daniel, standing in a gas station parking lot from the night before. Mark had posted it on Facebook with a caption that made my blood run cold, missing. My wife has taken my son. If anyone sees them, please contact me. I am terrified for my boy's safety. Police have been notified. Any help is appreciated. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments. People saying they'd keep an eye out, offering prayers, calling me evil for kidnapping my own son. And then, in the middle of the comments, one that made my stomach drop. Saw them last night. She was headed west. Claire cursed under her breath and slammed the laptop shut. We need to move. Now. She was right. Mark wasn't just looking for us, he had an army of strangers helping him. We packed in minutes. Claire told me she had a friend, an old college roommate, who had a cabin up in the mountains. Secluded. Safe. No internet, no phone signal. It was the best place to lay low until I figured out my next move. I wasn't ready to fight for custody yet. I needed a lawyer. I needed a plan. Right now, we just needed to disappear. We left before the sun was fully up, throwing our bags into Claire's car. She drove, taking side roads, avoiding highways, checking the mirrors constantly. It should have been a straight shot to the cabin. But 3 hours into the drive, my phone buzzed. A notification. Somehow, Mark had gotten my number. Not my real one. The prepaid burner phone. The message was simple. I know where you are. I felt sick. How? Claire didn't answer right away. She just gripped the steering wheel tighter. Then she said, he's tracking you. I stared at her. That's not possible. It is. If he had access to your phone before you left, he could have installed spyware. He could be seeing everything. Calls, texts, even GPS. I wanted to throw up. Without thinking, I rolled down the window and tossed the phone onto the side of the road. It hit the gravel with a soft thud, screen shattering on impact. Claire exhaled sharply. Good. But that means we need a new plan. Because if Mark had been tracking us this whole time, we might already be walking into a trap. We stopped to refuel in a small town just outside of Fairplay, Colorado. A tiny place with one gas station, an old diner, and a few scattered houses. It was the kind of town where people noticed strangers. I kept my head down, pulling Daniel close as Claire filled up the tank. Then I felt it. That prickling sensation on the back of my neck. I looked up and locked eyes with a man leaning against the side of a pickup truck. Late 50s, scruffy beard, chewing on a toothpick. He wasn't doing anything, but something about the way he was watching us sent chills down my spine. Then he did something that made my blood run cold. He pulled out his phone, took a picture of us, and then, without looking away, started typing. My stomach dropped. I turned, heart pounding, and yanked Claire's sleeve. We have to go. Now. She didn't argue. She slammed the gas pump back in place, jumped into the driver's seat, and peeled out of the lot so fast the tires screeched. Daniel twisted around in his seat, eyes wide. Mom, who was that? I didn't know. But I knew exactly who he was texting. Mark. We couldn't go to the cabin. Not anymore. If that man had sent Mark our location, he was already on his way. Claire kept driving, turning down random roads, trying to put as much distance as possible between us and that gas station. But we were running out of options. I could feel it. This wasn't just me versus Mark anymore. He had people helping him. Strangers who believed his lies. People who thought I was some unstable mother who had stolen her son. And the worst part? If the police got involved, they might believe him too. Because Mark was smart. He knew exactly how to play the victim. And I was just a woman with no money, no home, and no plan. I gripped Daniel's hand as the reality of it all hit me. We had nowhere left to run. We drove for hours, aimless, exhausted, trying to stay ahead of Mark. But deep down, I knew we couldn't run forever. Claire pulled into a deserted rest stop, killing the engine. She turned to me, eyes serious. We need help, she said. Real help. I nodded. But who? The cops? She hesitated. Not yet. Not until we have proof. That was the problem. Mark had spent years making me look like the unstable one. If we went to the police now, he'd twist the story, make them believe I was some reckless mother on the run. I needed something stronger. Something that would destroy him completely. And then it hit me. I looked at Claire. What if I turn his own game against him? Mark was smart, but he was also arrogant. He thought he was always one step ahead. That was his weakness. I pulled out Claire's laptop, connected to a random cafe's Wi-Fi, and did something I never thought I'd do. I texted Mark. I used a new number, one Claire set up for me. A clean number, with no way for him to trace it back. I typed carefully, making sure every word was perfect. Mark, I give up. You win. Let's meet and talk. Just you and me. The response came almost instantly. Where? I glanced at Claire. He took the bait. We picked a spot. An abandoned parking lot outside a shut-down shopping center. Isolated. Private. Perfect. But I wasn't going in alone. Claire had a friend, Jason, who worked as a private investigator. He wasn't just any PI, he was good at what he did. And he owed Claire a favor. Jason got everything ready. Hidden cameras. Audio recordings. Backup watching from a distance. Because if Mark was going to walk into this thinking he was in control, I was going to make sure he never walked away the same. Mark pulled into the lot exactly when he said he would. He got out of his car, smug as ever. You finally came to your senses, he said, shaking his head like I was some foolish child. Do you have any idea what you put me through? I didn't answer. I just stood there, letting him talk. Letting him dig his own grave. He went on and on, about how I was unstable, how I had kidnapped his son, how the police were this close to tracking me down. Then, he made his mistake. He stepped closer. Lowered his voice. You really thought you could get away? You're nothing without me. You and that brat are coming home tonight. One way or another. His hand wrapped around my wrist, tight, like it had so many times before. And then, the sirens. Mark's head snapped up just as two police cars came speeding into the lot. His grip loosened just enough for me to pull away. What the? Before he could finish, Jason and another officer were on him, shoving him to the ground. You're under arrest for harassment, stalking, and making threats against your wife, one of the officers said, snapping the cuffs on his wrists. Mark started screaming, cursing, thrashing. This is damn. She's lying. She's the crazy one. Jason smirked. Nah, man. We got it all. Audio. Video. Full confession. I crossed my arms, looking down at Mark as he was forced into the back of the police car. You lost, I said. And for the first time in years, I finally felt free. Mark was charged with multiple counts of harassment and domestic threats. And because of his past behavior, the judge didn't take it lightly. Restraining order? Granted. Full custody? Mine. Mark behind bars? For a long time. The best part? His own social media posts, the same ones he used to turn people against me, ended up being evidence against him. The people who had once called me evil for running? They saw the truth now. They saw the monster Mark really was. And Daniel? He got to grow up in a world where he never had to be afraid again. One night, months later, Daniel climbed onto my lap and wrapped his arms around me. "I'm happy now, Mom," he whispered. Tears filled my eyes as I hugged him tight. "Me too, sweetheart. Because after everything, after all the fear, the pain, the running, we won."